All right. I know we're still waiting on Gabriel, but that's fine. Couple things as we start. First, look on the screen, please. As I mentioned to you previously, if you go out and right mouse click on the name of the database and choose properties and go out under files, you're going to be able to see the path to your file. I'll say that one more time. Let's just do it. So I'm over here on SQL Server Management Studio. I am right mouse clicking on the name of my database. I am choosing properties. Under properties, this thing that comes up, because it's very confusing, I'm going to go down to the second one down that says files. And then over here, this is the path to both my database file and my log file. You will want that path. So I just highlighted all of it, grabbed it, and copied it to the clipboard. All right. The other thing that I noticed was good, bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter, that when I ran this, it did not like SQL Server Management Studio open. So I did a file, exit to close this. Now, if you've made changes since the last time you had it open, it may ask you if you want to save those changes. All right, that's not my call, that's your call. But I'm right here now, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start up a brand new project. I've already given you the code. The good news is you don't even have to type that in. Everything we do now is going to be created for you. And I'll show you again where you could come up and have some kind of a problem. But this is, ideally, this is the same code I gave you. See it? Now when we run it, it should look like this. Does that look familiar? I changed the color of the form, but now we've got the automatic stuff up here. So I can click last, I can click first, I can click next, I can click previous. If I click plus here, it would let me add another one. If I click the X here, just so you know, it's working with a copy. So if we were to remove it, I don't believe it's removing it from the actual database. I believe it's removing it from a copy. All right. And we can make changes and click save. All right. So with that said, I'm going to close this. Now I should be now right where you are. In other words, when you look down here, this is the one we just did. So I'm closing that one. I have nothing open under Visual Studio. What's the old saying? There's nothing up my sleeve. All right. So I'm going to start a new project. Now, since I've said I wanted to run this as an administrator, that's why I'm getting this. You may have to do that to get this to work. If that is the case, as I said, you come into Visual Studio here, you right mouse click on the icon, and then you right mouse click where it says down here, again, like you were going to start it up, and you choose properties. Now, I don't remember. Here, run, let's see. Nope, let's see. It wasn't hard, I just don't remember where it was. I think it's here under security and advanced. Oh, let's see. There's an administrator's allow here. I don't remember if that was it or not. I didn't think it was that hard. I thought it was just a button. If you can't find it, I'm going to go and I'm going to Google it. Why? Because that's how I found it to begin with. How to set admin mode for Visual Studio 2019 Community Edition. One of these, you run as administrator. How do I run as administrator? It was one of these. I don't remember which one. So right click on the shortcut, choose properties, find the advanced tab. So I'm just going to do this again. So right mouse click, choose properties. Okay, this should come up in general. Click the advanced tab under general right here. See this? So click that. There it is. Check the run administrator box. Let's see. Maybe it is the other one. I know it was one of these because I know I followed it and it worked just fine. Right mouse click on the shortcut, choose properties. On the shortcut tab, there's shortcut, second one there. Click advanced. There it is. Run as administrator. Again, the pain in the ass about that is now every time you start this up, it's going to ask, do you want to run this? Because you're administrator. And if you say, I don't like that, well, you can turn it back off again after we get done with the database stuff. All right? All right, so I'm going to come in here and I'm going to tell that I want to create a new project. Okay? Close this stuff up here. There we go. And it will be a Windows Forms project. Oops. So I'm going to choose the first one, Windows Forms app, .NET Framework. And I'm going to click Next. All right. Now, I called my first one Sales Orders DB. I already created it with Sales Orders DB2. So I'm going to call this one Sales Orders DB3. You can call it whatever you want, just don't call it what you called the last one. All right, but since I already have a Sales Orders DB2, I already have that one. So I'm going to call it 3. And I'm going to change where I'm saving it because I want it to go onto my desktop. All right, so there it is. I don't have to worry about naming, etc. So, you know, where it says please place solution in the same name, that's fine. Click create. Now, you don't have to do this, but I wanted it to be about the same size as my other one. So I just did that. I did 3 things. I did that, so that's number 1. Number 2, I changed the name to FRM Sales Orders Auto, just because it was automatically generated. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right. I guess I did 4 things. I changed the background color because, again, I hate that color. So I'll just make it purple. That's fine. And then finally, I changed my text to say something like auto-generated sales orders database application, or whatever you want to call it. It's not, whatever you call it, it's not that big a thing anyway. All right. So that's what it looks like right now. And like I said, I am done writing my code. I am done with my interface. That's it. So what do I have to do? Well, if you look up on the screen here, you may not have this yet, but you will in a minute. If you look up on the screen again, where my toolbox is to the right, mine says data source here. Yours may say that, it may not. And if it doesn't, don't worry about it. All right. Why do I say don't worry about it? Because it's going to in about 10 seconds. So click Project. And under Project, the 5th one down says Add New Data Source. See that? So choose that. Most of the stuff in here should be fairly intuitive to you. All right. We want a database, right? So that should make sense. So database is already chosen. If you do highlight the other ones, it gives you a short description down below about what they're about. I don't care because we're not creating an object. We're not creating a service. I don't care. So I want to just keep it at database. And I'll click next. Well, this is a hard one because there's only one choice. All right. We want to create a data set. Yeah. So we click next again. Now, I've already got a connection. You probably don't. Okay, so click the button here that says New Connection. All right. Now, your data source may say what mine says up here. It may not. Don't worry about it whether it does or doesn't. But if yours is empty or whatever right here, click right there where it said change. Just click on, whoops, let me try it again. Click, so new connection. Click here where it says change. See that? and you should get this. I have read online the difference between this one and this one. And when I read the differences between those two, it's almost one of those jokes. I'm more confused than I was when I started. I was sure that it had to be this one. So I did that one yesterday and it didn't work. So I went up and did this one. Third one down that says Microsoft SQL Server. I'd like you to choose that one and click OK. And if it looks like this, that's good. All right. Here's a surprise. Server name. Remember that thing I asked you to copy before? So mine is right here on mine. So I'm going to grab that again. And in server name, I'm just going to put it in the box. All right. And then down here now it says, oh, what database do you want to use? All right. So I'm clicking down here, and lo and behold, one of my databases is sales orders. Does that make sense? Now, if yours doesn't come up and show all that stuff, like I said, you might have to go back, as I just showed you, and run this thing as an administrator. If everything has worked so far, it may not work when you click the OK button. And if that's the case, that's when it broke for me. And I had to go back and run this as an administrator. I took the error that I got and Googled it. All right. So I'm going to choose this, and you can, I always recommend clicking test the connection right here. When I clicked this yesterday, I got an error. You may get an error. If you get an error when you do this, I got an error when I did mine yesterday, and it said there was some stuff I did not have downloaded yet. If you get that and it says, do you want to download it? Say yes. And it will take about 2 minutes. That's what it took me. It may be a little longer, a little shorter, depending on the speed of your machine if you get that. But there's a couple things that it has to download. All right? But then it should succeed like this. If yours did succeed, just click OK. Now, I've already got that connection, so I'm not going to click OK. Did you all hear me? I could, but why should I have two connections when I'm connecting to the same database using the same server? All right, so I'm just going to click cancel, and when you click OK, you should have something in here. All right, now don't go on yet. If you're to this point, what I'd like you to do is look up on the screen. See where it says show the connection string that you will save in the application? See this? I'm going to click that checkbox, and wow, this should look familiar. Data source equals, there it is. Initial catalog equals, we said database name, all right? And our integrated security, we didn't say true, okay? But it was the same type of stuff. This is what the system is putting in automatically. So where we put in our own connection string, this is the connection string that will be added by the system. Does that make sense to people? Could I have used this one in ours? Probably. I didn't try it. I built my own. All right. You don't have to keep this checked. You can keep it checked. It's totally your call. Doesn't hurt anything one way or the other. If you click next, now it says, hey, I'm going to make a connection string for you. Remember how we called ours con string? But it's going to call it sales orders connection string. If you say, I like con string better, then change it. I'm just going to leave it the way it is. So it says, do you want to save the connection as? Yes, I want to save it as. I'll just keep that name. So I'm going to click next again. If you've done all this and you got to here, hallelujah, we're almost done, believe it or not. Now what it's showing us here is it says, okay, what do you want? Okay, and the first thing are tables. Well, you probably guessed that's the one we're going to choose. I mentioned to you yesterday that views are saved queries. So if we had written some views, we could choose that one. Stored procedures if you go and you create a bunch of queries and stuff and you want to be able to save them, all right? And no, you say, well, you said that's a view. Yeah. But wouldn't it be nice if I could write a query, and when we ran that query, I could say select star from customers where, and I could say customers like, and I could put something in there where I could run it a bunch of times, and I could say like have a last name of starting with S, and then run it again and say have a first name starting with B. Do you understand what I'm saying? If I could run the same query, but I could run it interactively so I could change it every time I run it. Those are stored procedures. All right, we're not going to write any of those. And then finally, if you wrote your own functions. So we're going to choose tables, but rather than just clicking there, that would choose every table. We're going to click there. I just clicked the arrow that was to the left of the word tables. The only table that we really need is the customers table. Would you agree? Because that's the one we're using for this example. So I'm going to click to the left of the customers table. And you got your choice now. You can choose everything, and then you get the ID, and that's not a problem. You can do that. I don't want the ID, but I want everything else. Are you all with me? All right, so I'm going to choose everything. I think if I do this, if I click that button, chooses everything, then I think I can come back and remove that one. See that? Or you can just manually click every other one. Doesn't really matter. You're doing the same thing either way. So I now have customer, the same stuff we did last time. First name, last name, address, city, state, zip, area code, phone number. Those 8 fields are now chosen. I will tell you, I didn't show you this before, but in the last example that we did, if we wanted the customer ID in there, let's just say we want it, then you shouldn't make it a text box. You should make it a label. Because remember, labels you cannot give them a focus, and you can't change them while the program's running. Right, that's a better thing to do if you're going to be working with showing the IDs. I've seen a lot of things online where they make it a text box and then they set read only equal to true. You can do that too. I wouldn't recommend doing that because some nitwit can still come in there and reset it read only from true to false. All right, you never want to change your primary key. So I've got that. And it says basically, okay, what do you want to do? Well, I'm done. If you look in here, I can either go backwards or I can be finished or I can cancel. Well, I'm done. So I'm clicking finish. All right. And you're saying, hey, nothing really happened. All right. And yeah, something really big did happen. You just don't see it yet. What I want you to do is I want you to click view up on your menu. Click view. All right. And then go down about 2/3 of the way down and find other windows. And then the second one down should say data source. And it still doesn't look like you got much of anything in there yet. However, look on the screen, please. Notice what happens when I click this. Those are all my fields. Big deal. It is. Why? Well, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to grab my first name and I'm going to put it in there. And unfortunately, I don't know why mine doesn't stay stuck. All right, I tried to pin it, but well, I guess it'll pin it down there. So there's my last name. There's my street address. There's my city. Oops, I don't want the city again. There's my state. There's my zip code. There's my area code. There's my phone number. Now, I haven't done a lick to pretty them up. Would you agree? Nothing. So I'm going to do, literally, I'm going to spend 5 minutes. We're going to be done with this one then. So the first thing I want to do is I just want this thing to say customer name instead of customer first name. You with me? So I'm going to click on this here, and where it says down in the text, customer first name, I'm just going to change it to customer name. All right, that's fixed. I don't want this, the one right here, I don't want this label. So I'm going to highlight the label. Don't highlight them both, or you're going to remove the text box. So I'm highlighting the label, hitting delete. Now that's gone. I want this first name to be a little bit bigger. and I'll put the last name right next to it. I want that to be pretty big. Now I'm up to my street address. Okay? I want that to be pretty big as well. And where it says customer city, customer state, customer zip, I'm going to click on that one, and I'm just going to change, and you can do this any way you want. I'm just going to change this to city slash state slash zip. All right, so I've got that now. There's my city. I'll make that a little bigger. My state, I no longer need that label. So that's, oops, I thought I removed it. I guess I didn't. There's my state. My zip, I don't need that label anymore. So there'll be my zip. And I'm going to change this where it says customer area code. I'm just going to change it to customer phone number. All right. And I will put in, there's the area code. And right next to the area code, I'm going to get rid of my label that says customer phone number. And I will put in the phone number. Give that a little bit bigger. Then you don't have to do this, but what I did was this. I highlighted all of my labels, and I just made them a little bigger. I might have to move some stuff around. I made them 14, bold, and Arial. So notice they're a little too big now, so I've got to move some of this stuff a little. Then I did the same thing over here to my text boxes. In other words, I highlighted all of them, went over there and said, hey, change the font size to 14, make them bold, Arial, okay. And you don't have to do this, but I also came in and said for the text, I wanted it to be centered. If you don't like it centered, you don't have to do that. If you do like it centered, you can do that. Again, totally your call. I don't know why it's not showing me that, but it's not. And I'm going to move this over just a tad. I mean, now it's just a bunch of aesthetics, trying to pretty it up a little bit. That's it. All right. So I've got all that. That looks okay. It's not fantastic, but it looks okay. So I'm going to do a save all, and I'm going to run it. And lo and behold, there's my same information that we had before. Now I can click here to go to the last record, click here to go to the first record, next record, previous record, etc. And the only other thing I want to show you, if you look up on the screen, please, is if I come in here and I view the code, that's all the code. This.validate, we're going to be talking about this stuff as we go on, okay? Binding source, table adapter manager, a lot of these terms should be familiar to you now. And then when we come down to here, again, this is your call. It's doing the fill method, and it says this was in the to do, so you can remove that if you want to. It's just a comment anyway that says you're about to put in a fill method, but it put it in for you. So what we just did, literally, I'd say about 15 minutes, all right, is we built a relational database management system without having to put in any code ourselves. All right. Now the bad thing about that is, to me, it's kind of like when if the whole, let's just say the whole first week of class in this class, what I did was I taught you to make beautiful interfaces. All right, that's all we did was we made GUIs the whole week. And you could make the world's most beautiful GUI, but you didn't know how to write the code that went with it. That's kind of like what we just did. That's why I did it the other way first, and I showed you how to do it manually. Because, again, not to just say it, anybody can do this. Not everybody can do what you did for the first project. All right. So again, you could come in here now and you can make any changes to this you might want to. But virtually all the changes you'd make now would be cosmetic in nature. All right. So that was the idea behind this. So I'm going to stop this, but I'm not done yet for today. But I'm going to take this and I'm